Well, welcome to the Your Fix TV studio. If you've just joined tonight's stream, I'm Monique Bradley and I'm on the couch here with the lovely Lynette Hill from My Remedy, who has also brought another guest into the studio. Welcome to the couch. Would you like to introduce your guest to our viewers?
I would. This lovely lady is Clare Williamson, and she is a friend and colleague of mine. Claire has got a website called Essential Mum, and she's going to explain why the essential and the mum is probably more obvious. And Claire's just going to talk to us now about her journey with stress and anxiety and just some of the ways that she's learnt to cope.
Welcome to the couch.
Hi, thank you.
So tell us about your story.
Well, I suffered a PTSD way back when, and I guess it really, that was bad in itself, but as I was recovering from that, it was almost as if I lost all of my coping abilities. The littlest of things would stress me out, and I began feeling this anxiety all the time, almost a nonsensical fear that it sort of got to me to the point where I would hide at home and not want to open the curtains. It was a really bad time, and I didn't know where to reach out, which was one thing.
Which is sadly very common.
Absolutely. I was afraid to share with friends how I was really feeling, because it sounded like a foreign language to me when I was speaking it out, and I didn't want them to think that I was strange or
Yes.
So I just became more and more isolated. And I guess I also was in a workplace that had a lot of high stress, and because of those low coping abilities, just no ability actually to deal with stress, I got to a point of complete burnout. And one day I was in the car driving to my workplace, and I just didn't know how I was ever going to go forward. And I had this fleeting moment where I took the steering wheel and I started to turn it, because there was just this sudden moment where I felt like it was the only way out, and I didn't want to continue feeling the way I was feeling. Thankfully, I don't know if it was just fear or coming to my senses, I stopped, and I just ended up careering off the motorway into the side of the road. And that was a real kick up the butt.
Yeah.
It was a real push for me to actually talk to my husband, well, he wasn't my husband at the time, we're married now, but talk to somebody. At the time I was put on medication, and that didn't work for me, and so I started to look at more holistic ways to manage the anxiety and stress. So I learned about breathing techniques, I learned about the positiveness of being out in the fresh air. And I did start to build some techniques and strategies to manage the stress, and they all were working really well until I had children. And
enter more stress.
Yes, of course.
yeah, and we had a really stressful time with my first daughter. She was born with gut issues that caused a lot of stress, and I found myself not coping again, because the things that I'd learnt, just if you're feeling anxious, drop everything, go for a walk in the fresh air. You can't do that when you've got a baby.
No, of course.
I'd feel crowded by her crying. I'd feel like I couldn't find the space, and that would get the anxiety starting.
Wow.
So all of the techniques that had been working stopped working for me. And again, I started to really spiral into this constant anxiety, and felt very, very stressed out by being a mum in that first year.
Wow. So what coping mechanisms did you put into place to take you from overwhelm into a place of stability, especially with this new level of anxiety coming in with having children?
Yeah, I discovered essential oils. I was lying in bed one night with my daughter, who I was using essential oils at that point quite regularly to help with her discomfort, to help her sleep. And I was lying there, and we had a blend called Serenity from doTERRA running in the diffuser. And I'd had this ball of anxiety in my chest all day, and I lay there and I was breathing in this smell, and it just occurred to me that it was easing away. It was helping me to unwind and relax, and actually, it was really powerful.
What are the key ingredients in Serenity?
Serenity had marjoram, So that's very sedative. It has Roman chamomile, which is very soothing, very calming. It has ylang ylang, which often we use for that whole mood swing to balance. It has vanilla bean, Hawaiian sandalwood, which is extremely grounding. So I guess I went, aha, there could be something in this. So I looked into it further, and I actually discovered that doTERRA have an emotional aromatherapy range. They have mood management oils, and I discovered a blend called Balance, which has frankincense, blue tansy, blue chamomile, osmanthus, and that is what I started to use as I felt anxious. And I felt that it really grounded me. I felt
so you'd put it in a diffuser, or you'd pop it on your pulse points?
I actually started using it on my wrist.
Yeah.
So I put it in, I have my little bag that I started taking everywhere with the oils that I felt helped me, and I put it in a rollable, so you can just roll it straight on your skin.
Wow.
I did see her rolling this before quite liberally.
And you thought it was perfume, but no, it's her own essential
her
oils.
oil blend.
And I started to use it. I would put it on my wrist and I would breathe it in, and I'd take 3 big, deep belly breaths. So in those moments where it's not appropriate to take the space from a crying baby and all the stresses of motherhood, to sit and do breathing exercises or take yourself out for a walk outside. When I couldn't do that, I could lean on the oils.
Wonderful.
And it brought me back to center enough to start really thinking about what I needed, to be fully well.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah. And then
so essentially, in this instance, aromatherapy, essentially, the oils themselves, the essential oils are doing, say, what homeopathy might do for our emotions. Is it similar?
It's a little bit different. It's working at a different level, so it's working on a different sense.
Yes, of course. Yeah. But providing you that space to breathe and be calm.
And they work with the limbic part of the brain, which is, it drives our emotions. So it's good. And then, as one of the things that I did after that with Essential Mum, when I started Essential Mum, was trained to be a life coach. And I did this because I wanted to be a life coach to other mums. What I didn't realise actually was that you get coached as part of that process.
Wow.
And that for me has really been a big part, again, of getting to a place where I feel in control, developing strategies, not just for the anxiety and the stress, but also what's causing that anxiety and stress. So for me, it was powerful prioritizing, actually taking control of my schedule so that I didn't feel rushed or stressed or overwhelmed, which are big triggers for my anxiety. And getting a real connection with my inner self as well, reconnecting with me and what I need and what I want and what drives me and what my values are, to give you that real sense of identity that is really helpful, I think, in anxiety. Uncertainty is a big trigger, again, for my anxiety. And I don't think I really realised how big a part that was playing in how anxious I was feeling.
I'd be really interested to know if anybody watching tonight, if any of that's resonating with them. Even though I'm not a mum, I have experienced a lot of what you're talking about, just for purely different reasons. I know my triggers. I battled with anxiety actually for 15 years. So I totally hear what you're saying. Never considered essential oils and aromatherapy for it. Totally putting that into my toolbox now as an option. And I'd love to know if any of you out there are currently living, lots of hearts and thumbs coming through. Mary, as Sanalance just said, love this. I know, right, Mary, such a great conversation to have. What are your coping skills for dealing with anxiety? Anybody watching tonight, if you are suffering from stress, I think this is resonating with a number of people. Hypnosis Auckland has just said, should we only use certified organic essential oils?
When I recommend essential oils to mums, so I'm a life coach now, obviously, having trained, and I work around a package of the coaching and the oils, because the oils can really help mums week to week, with what's going on. And I discovered that wild orange works really well. Anxiety is like a line of dominoes. And if you let that first domino fall, the rest just spiral and then you're into panic attacks.
So true.
So what I discovered is wild orange with the balance, for me, really stopped that first domino in its tracks.
Wow.
So again, a really powerful tool to just not spiraling down into a panic attack. And the oils that I use are doTERRA. They are 100% pure. They're certified to be pure, so they have an in-house testing and an external testing as well. They aren't certified organic. However, the company works with only growers that do not spray or, put anything horrible into the ground. So they're working really closely with that. And yes, I do.
Oils.
I recommend 100% to go with 100% pure at the very least, organic. Again, just because you don't want to inadvertently be putting chemicals into your body that are actually going to break down your body's own
of course. Coping
abilities to,
That's right, and be one more problem. I've had noticed that. So, the difference between a good oil, and I won't put brands out there, because I've used a few good oils, and not, is a headache.
Same with me.
Yeah.
I'm really smell sensitive.
Yeah. And a good oil just it gets in and it soothes and it nourishes and it does the job. And an oil, I think we've all been tempted. That is just cheap and yay, it's orange. Woo, I like orange. I've got a headache.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
that's incredible.
hit and miss in terms of I've again have used oils for a long time as well, and lavender would help me sleep sometimes and not other times, and I think it is because
That's amazing.
bad oil.
Yeah, Carla Jenkinson just said absolutely essential oils are my happy place, and that's part of what the Essential Mum blog is all about. It's about finding your happiness. Raja's just asked, can you be more specific about the oils? Well, I think what we need to do is post some content maybe on the My Remedy site from Carla about...
From Claire.
From Claire. Carla, I'm just seeing Carla in the newsfeed. From Claire about the effects of those. In fact, we're going to show you Claire's blog in just a second. Oh, first of all, we've got Claire's takeaways, which are make a behavioural change, take some walks in the fresh air, meditate, learn tools to shift quickly out of overwhelm, redesign your schedule. These are key important points she wants you to know. Identify what you believe is important. Oh, pardon my typo there. Become friends with your fears. I loved that point, Claire. Understand and acknowledge why you put pressure on yourself. Take steps to change. Set goals on how to live differently. Design a life where you are living on purpose. And finally, here is a link to Claire's blog, The Essential Mum, essentialmum.net. You can find more information. I'm assuming there's lots about the essential oils on there as well. And so those actual takeaways from Claire are, in fact, tools she put into place with her own journey to find her way back to happiness. And that's why we really wanted to share those with you. Katie English finally has just said, would this be the same for chronic hyperventilation syndrome? So the effects of stress and anxiety, is it the same with something like the orange? You mentioned the orange prevents wild orange, prevents that first domino from knocking over.
Yeah, and I think breathing is really important, because one of the things that I do, obviously, when I'm starting to feel anxious, is hyperventilate. I start breathing into my chest and not getting enough oxygen into my body. I've started wearing a helo because it actually tells me when I'm starting to chest breathe, which is amazing.
Wow.
And, our bodies are whispering to us all the time. And sometimes we're so caught up in whatever we're doing, which is probably our trigger for the anxiety, that we don't notice what our body is screaming at us.
Yes.
So, this tells me when my heart rate starts to rise. It tells me when my breathing rate goes up. It actually tells you when you're anxious. It tracks your mood. So it's been really amazing for me, because it's actually, Claire, stop and breathe.
And
so
breathing your oils.
Yeah, breathing
and
your
there are
oils.
oils that will definitely support, obviously, the calming, which is going to help you to breathe more slowly, breathe more deeply, breathe into your belly. So I think there are oils that, and aromatherapy can be used rather than the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. It could be used as preventative. So running something that's going to actually calm you and
Awesome.
yeah,
that's really cool. Well, Claire, thanks for joining us tonight here at Health Bites. It's great to have you on board. And again, you can find out more by heading to The Essential Mum, or is it essentialmum.net?
It's essentialmum.net.
Excellent. So
Fantastic.
find out
Thanks,
more
Claire.
on that blog site.